Next stage is to activate your models. So that is when you go into Vico Office, go into Manage Models, and choose which options you want to use to create the initial set of takeoff items. The initial visibility is 0 of a model. After you have published a model from Revit, ArchiCAD, Tekla, or imported it as an IFC file or CAD-Duct, it will be hidden. In order to show it in the 3D view, you need to use the Manage Models functionality to activate it in the Vico Office environment. Now there's 4 types of behavior, 4 status types that we have. Let me open that up in here in the Manage Models. Empty project. Let's see, I want to go to this example because I know it has a larger number of models in there. I open the Model Management and Manage Models workflow item. And here we got the collection of status types that we have. Green, of course, means it is activated and therefore visible in the model space. This is a version of the model. If I publish subsequent versions of the model, so we went through the example of 3 versions where first we changed the size of one element, in the next one we added an element, that will result in version 2 and version 3. If there is a newer version for a file, it will show that in this area. So you get a notification that although the model is active, there is a newer version of that model available. It was just published. Another interesting type of behavior is deactivated. If it is deactivated after it has been activated, the check mark over here will turn gray. Gray means it is currently not active, but it has been activated before. So all the geometry has been processed. We know the IDs, so it does exist in the pool. It's just that the geometry is hidden at the moment. Yellow means that that is the version that was previously activated. So it is possible to have a collection of versions in a model which are all inactive, and you may have both yellow and empty check marks here. Empty means it has never been activated before. Yellow means it has been activated. The properties for initial grouping are the properties that we published in stage 2 of the publish operation. At this moment, that's 3 properties for Revit, 3 for ArchiCAD, and 2 for Tekla. And those let you define the initial grouping. I emphasize initial because you can always change the grouping by using the painting process, so reassigning your elements to other takeoff items. Of course, it's smart to set that up in such a way that you don't have to do a lot of that painting, because that means that every time you get new elements, you have to repeat that painting. So the content plan, a concept that we've talked about many times, helps you to make sure that that initial group of takeoff items is the group that covers 90 to 95% of what you need. It is a lot of work to paint thousands of elements to make sure that you have the takeoff items the way you need them for cost planning. So if only 50% of your elements are in the right takeoff item, it means more work. It is possible. You can still create new takeoff item groups, but it's better to prepare by setting up a content plan in such a way that everything flows into the right takeoff items. Activation shows up this dialog with the options. It is separated in two categories at the moment. So we have architectural and structural elements. We have added 2 additional properties for MEP elements. So in addition to, in the case of Revit family, family type, and mark, we have MEP system property and MEP manufacturer and model for MEP elements. So during the publish process from Revit and ArchiCAD as well, we can see which elements are MEP elements, and for those we get those additional properties as well. That was required because you want to save pieces of equipment based on the manufacturer that will supply the equipment for the project. This toggle over here is a very important one. By default, it's switched on. It means that if you have previously activated a version of that model, you have elements visible in the 3D view, and those elements have a place in a takeoff item, so they are located somewhere in my quantity takeoff. Those elements are not touched during this process of activation if you keep this toggle activated. So anything that is visible now and has been assigned to a takeoff item will remain there. Also means that possible reassignments will remain in that takeoff item. So let's say I got a red wall and I assign it to a blue takeoff item, it will stay there, even though its property is red. Right? However, if I want to reset everything that I did, I want to start from my baseline again, because maybe I improved my content plan, I reorganized my model file, then I remove this checkbox. Removing that checkbox means all the properties will be reprocessed and all the elements will be assigned to a takeoff item that is based on that property.
The default is checked.
Default is checked because it increases or decreases the amount of time needed for activation. So the initial setting is activate model. If you made a mistake with an already active model, you don't have to deactivate that model in order to get that dialog again. What you can do in that case is select the version that you want to reprocess and say create takeoff items. So that shows up exactly the same dialog that lets you recreate what you initially set. Import CAD-Duct and import IFC work slightly different than the publishers from Revit and ArchiCAD, in that you select a file and the geometry is brought in as if it were published. So that is really a two-stage process too. In case of Revit, first stage is publish to Vico Office, second stage is activate in Vico Office. In case of CAD-Duct and import IFC, it is first stage import IFC, second stage activate IFC. That means that if I complete the step of importing IFC, I will not see the model yet. Okay, I have to go through the step of activation as well after that.